We got an amazing night for you. And if I sit here and read your messages, it's going to take me another, I think, hour. So with that, let's get the call started. Ramin, I know you are, of course, pumped up, and I'm going to first do the introductions because you're going to be pretty much co-hosting and co-presenting this and going and doing what we need with this call. I know David, of course, is always there as part of our regulatory team. For those of you who know or don't know David, David O is basically part of our regulatory team as a part of Opulence Global. And we've been blessed to have him as a part of our team with the growth and the expansions that we have had worldwide. But tonight, we have a very, very special guest. We have actually two special guests because usually our founder and CEO is not on our very special call tonight. And it's because it's a very, very special call. And of course, for those of you who don't know, let me tell you a little bit about an introduction from our founder and CEO. So I call him the CEO with a heart of gold. And of course, the reason I call him that is because he is absolutely relentless in building and helping other entrepreneurs to be able to build success. He is a self-made millionaire at the age of 23. He has built and established 5 multi-million-dollar businesses, which he has established on his own and built it from the ground up. He's had distributorships and organizations of over 100,000 people. He is an absolute veteran in the industry. He's a coach. He's a mentor to many, including myself, who has really supported and helped me and developed me as an entrepreneur in this industry. And I feel blessed and excited to be able to work side by side with him and to be mentored and coached by him. He's also the forensic networker. He is the author of Forensic Networker, and he is absolutely amazing. And the reason I call him, CEO with a heart of gold very, very, very often is simply because he is always there to support. He is always there to give back. He has always been there, in supporting, of course, orphanages and building with everything that anyone really needs. And so that's what's been absolutely monumental with Ramin. He, of course, founded GWT about 15 years ago. He's basically built it from his home office. And of course, today, not only are we a debt-free multi-million-dollar corporation, but it's a company that's expanded into over 200 countries. His vision, his excitement, his passion, his leadership, his coaching has helped so many different entrepreneurs to be able to, of course, go out there and to build their empire. So with that, Ramin, sir, I want to welcome you to the call. Thank you for who you are and everything that you do. And if I can just are we gonna get your video on tonight?
No, Sanaz, first of all, I want to thank you for hosting this call. You're always, our go-to person when we want something done in a special way. We got a lot to talk about, so let's get a good doctor on and let's tackle the important challenges of our time right now.
Awesome. So many of you have been excited, and then you all know that when we bring on a special guest, it's a very, very special guest. So today, it is my honor and pleasure to have our special Monday product Crossfire with our very special guest, Dr. Terry Tillaart, and of course, our founder and CEO. Dr. Tillaart, to tell you guys all a little bit about him, he's a Chinese medicine practitioner. However, with a Ph.D. in natural medicine, Dr. Tillaart is also an international speaker on a variety of health issues. And I already know that you guys are going to absolutely fall in love hearing from him. We're going to do a great interview on how you can better protect yourself during this pandemic with, of course, Dr. Tillaart as well. So I want to welcome you, Dr. Tillaart. Welcome to the call.
Well, Sanaz, your energy is infectious. I just love the way you get on here and you're so excited about everything. And I really appreciate the gracious welcome. And I just want to say hi to everyone. I can't believe there's some people on here at 3 a.m. So big applause to you people. That's commitment. I love committed people. I like to meet people who are excited and proactive about their health. And so I'm excited to be on the call. And Ramin and Reza, and thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I actually want to give a shout out to Reza for organizing this. I know he reached out to you and you did a couple of calls, and then Reza brought it on. I said, absolutely, we're here. So I want to give a big shout out to Reza for getting this all scheduled. And Ramin, I know, is excited. And Terry, welcome, and let's get the call started.
Well, you know what? Dr. Terry says that you're infectious. Well, if Corona can only affect 2 people, you could do hundreds in like one snap. So this is how important in being enthusiastic is. You know what, let's get started. We have our David, the regulatory as well. David is a science brain in our corporation, of course. We have our scientist as well, which is in in Finland. I had a really good talk with Dr. Elmas today, and he absolutely blew me away by the stuff that he was telling me. So I asked him to do a video. He sent me 4 videos. So what he's going to do next week is going to absolutely shock you with regard to lignans. The new studies are coming out, but again, that's for next week. Dr. Tillaart, welcome. Welcome to Opulence Global. We always say, welcome home.
Appreciate it.
You know what? You obviously, you got a PhD. You've dedicated your life into this. I think it's fitting for everyone to get a background on you. Like what got you interested and why did you go the traditional medicine way? I mean, tell me about your background and before we tackle the issues that we want to talk about tonight.
Yeah, I mean, a real short story that was profound for me was I had 2 uncles that had cancer, once upon a time in my life. And I thought I knew a lot about health. I grew up playing hockey my whole life. I'm from Canada originally. And, hockey was life. And we had nutrition trainers and coaches, and I took all the classes in school. And I thought I knew everything about health. And then I was reading a book from Tony Robbins. Wasn't necessarily about health. He had several chapters about health in the book that flipped everything I thought I knew on its head. And then around that same chapter, 2 uncles get cancer. One doesn't really want to live. He accepts everything the doctors give him. He asks for milkshakes in the hospital. It was very sad to watch. The other uncle, on the other hand, had heard me trying to wake the family up about health matters at the table, because I grew up in a small town. Like, I didn't know about naturopathic doctors and naturopathic medicine and chiropractors, homeopaths, that Chinese medicine. That was all foreign to me at the time. But I explained to them that you can't fix your health with poison. That was like my big thing. And my uncle pulled me aside and he said, listen, I know that you're right. Problem is, I got daughters, your aunt, they're depending on me. I don't know what to do. What would you do if you were in my shoes and you weren't going to do the chemo, the radiation, and the surgery? Because I don't think that's right. And I didn't have an answer for him, and that really hurt. And I just said to him, I wish I knew the answers. There's got to be answers out there. And anyway, I told him that I would help him find the answer. So his plan was to go get chemo, radiation surgery, real short dose, and then he would eventually go down the natural route, if you will. But he didn't make it out of the hospital from chemo, and he died quickly. And that struck a chord in my heart, because I thought to myself, what happens if it's my parents next? What happens if it's my siblings next? What happens if it's my good friends? What will my answer be to them when they want to learn? And so I started out in a quest to become a cancer expert. I interviewed doctors from all kinds of different disciplines. I also was in a documentary on cancer. I did a North American speaking tour called Cancer: The Financier. So that was like my big original passion. And really these days, what I want to do is I teach people, diet, nutrition, chemical-free living, healthy living. And my message is always about building your own internal resources up, building your own strength up, building your own immune system up, and dealing with the root causes of why a problem's there in the first place. And so I do have a special passion for Chinese medicine, but really at the end of the day, everything is just about health. And right now we live in a world that's gone crazy. So I'm just trying to re-educate people a little different than what the mainstream media is doing, to try and bring some sanity, some peace of mind to people, and to empower them to not live in fear, and to realize that there's a lot they can do. There's a lot of things in their control, and we can get them out of that fear zone and onto living their lives.
You know what, Terry, that's fascinating, because the big C was always the big fear, and I remember when I started my MLM profession, they used to say 1 out of every 3 would get cancer. This is like 30 years ago. That's about 33%. That stat's gone up now. The latest stat I heard, 41% of population will get some type of cancer. Again, for the last 30 years, things aren't getting better. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And we introduced, just like you, I got a passion for this. We call that safe home revolution, which means try to remove all the toxicity, all the chemicals off your home, the stuff we use every single day, and to replace it with friendly products that actually work. I mean, we're surrounded with Wi-Fi, cell phone, radiation, all that stuff. I mean, tell me about what your experience, with your knowledge, how much sicker people are today than even 10 years ago.
Yeah, I do see it escalating constantly. I mean, the numbers of autoimmune cases going up, the numbers of kind of mysterious kind of diseases going up, the dementia's going up, the Alzheimer's going up. Everything is going up. But what else is going up? Well, environmental chemicals are going up. I heard it said recently really good, and this is a great question for the audience to get you thinking also about what we see going on in our world today. And I use a similar metaphor that I heard another doctor use recently on a webinar. And he said, listen, if I told you that the penguins all of a sudden were really sick up in the Antarctic, and you had to pick one reason why you thought they were sick, and I gave you a multiple choice question set, right? So answer A would be that you want to go test out their genes to see if all of a sudden the penguins got a genetic defect. That's choice A. Choice B, you'd want to see if they, somehow, got infected with a bird virus. Or C, you'd be asking yourselves the questions, is it possible that their environment got poisoned? Like, did DuPont or ExxonMobil or oil fracking or something like put some shit in their water? So that's highly technical term, but and I asked people, what's the first thing that you normally think would come to mind? Like, we all heard the story about that community where I think it was in Ohio, where the big Teflon industry was dumping all the Teflon chemicals into the water, and all of a sudden everyone in town was inordinately sick, right? So yeah, I'm sure a lot of them had lots of bad lifestyle factors, but there was one thing really obvious at the scene of the crime. And the answer, of course, is same with the penguins. You'd be thinking, what changed in their environment? You see, and in our world, yes, there's lots of lifestyle problems. People, let's face it, have a terrible diet. No one wants to hear it. No one wants to take responsibility for that. If you live in a northerly climate, there's low vitamin D, which affects your immune system. But then there's more chemicals in the water than ever. There's more chemicals in the air than ever. There's more electromagnetic pollution than ever. There's more chemicals in our personal care products. There's more pesticides on the produce than ever. A lot of people, for sometimes economic reasons, can't afford organic food, and so they consume it. There's more genetically modified organisms than ever. There's just this long onslaught, and nowadays, of course, timing perfectly with this virus we're told to run for the hills about is the introduction of 5G. We've got hundreds of satellites now blanketing the Earth. Literally, they're already in the sky. There's over 7,000 5G towers already installed on the ground across the globe. And of course, one of the first ones to go live was in Wuhan. And that's, of course, not an accident. And what we're seeing basically is that this nonstop onslaught on the body, like the body is a resilient machine, but it can only take so much punishment and abuse. And as we continue to add and add and add all of these different onslaughts, the stress goes up, the fear that the media is putting out, the seeing the stock market go down, people losing their retirements, fear affects the immune system. We've got all these things just destroying our immune system, destroying, well, our everything.
But this is it again, Terry, interesting, because you're taking me back 30 years now, because the last 30 years we talk about the stuff that you're saying, and it is an unbelievable amount of pressure on our immune system. The only thing that's trying to fight everything that you said, plus probably a million things we could mention,
sure,
all based on one thing in our body, the immune system. And I did a live today because I'm on this beautiful resort where Clinton actually came and played golf on this resort, and the place is empty. No one is here. Wow. You know why? Because instead of people saying, so I did a live on this, instead of people saying, look, I'm going to live, but I'm going to live more prepared. I'm going to take care of my immune system. I'm going to pick up some new practices. They don't want to do that. Instead, they want to stay home and wait for a vaccine. So they're looking for that magic pill. Here we are, we're living our life normally. Of course, we wash our hands more. Of course, we tripled on the fountain of life. But we're living our life normally, picking up some new habits and taking care of the main part, the immune system. But no, it seems to be more people are interested that staying home, wait for a vaccine, the magic pill, and so forth. So we talked about all these things, Terry, but cancer and heart disease used to be the main killer. Obviously, it still is, but that was what the whole conversation was about. But you know what scientists are telling me more and more these days? That the biggest threat to humanity, it's not the big C or the heart disease or traditional diseases. It's viruses, it's bacteria. That is the biggest threat because it's coming out of an animal, it's coming from the flies, it's coming from everywhere. And it gets, you cannot transfer cancer to each other, heart disease to each other, unless it's hereditary, but that's rare. But certainly you can transfer a virus to each other. That's what makes it very, very dangerous. So tell me about that a little bit. What are your thoughts about viruses and bacteria? Because it's been around for the last 100 years. It's not getting any better.
Right. And well, I mean, I think it's a great opportunity to clear up a few misconceptions around that too, because what we're finding out about the most cutting edge science, and of course, some of these things were questioned in the 1800s also, is that, yeah, there's definitely microbes of a wide variety, you know, bacteria, viruses, fungus, parasites, all that kind of stuff. But what we're finding out about a lot of them, in particular the viral particles, if you will, is that the viral particles are, without getting too technical, they're kind of inanimate objects. Like they can't really survive without a host. They require a disease host to replicate and expand. They require proteins, enzymes, fatty cells. They require a lot of things from the host for their survival and for them to really proliferate. And so the crazy part of this whole thing that no one wants to acknowledge, and it's good news and bad news, is that a really, really healthy person is based with a really strong immune system can come into contact with as many of these invisible bugs, if you will, as they want, and they won't really be affected at all. It's the weak, the unhealthy, the people in poor health that are so susceptible. And so the bad news is if you are in those shoes, then you're at risk. The good news is if you're proactive and you're someone who gets on a call at 3 a.m. to increase your knowledge and to learn, you realize that, wow, this is major league in your control. And so if you build up your immune system, which is ultimately the only thing that's going to protect you at the end of the day. Now, like there's never going to be a drug cure of any of this. There's quite a bit of science on plant-based medicine offering some help, that's for sure. But ultimately, at the end of the day, making a clean internal body and a strong immune system is the thing that gets you out of all of this. It's also the thing that keeps you from not worrying, right? Like my message today ultimately to people is to be proactive. Don't ignore what's going on out there. There's nothing wise about doing that. But I also want you to turn off all the fear from the mainstream media, because if you are strong and healthy internally, you have nothing to worry about. And the fear that the media is trying to inject in you is certainly not doing your immune system any favors. And so the good news is that there's so many ways, and in your case, you guys have Fountain of Life. I mean, talk about an easy way to get hyper concentrated nutrition, with a quick squirt into your mouth to really boost your immune system up. Now, as a health practitioner, I don't want to give you the irresponsible message and tell you that's all you should do. Of course, I still think people should live a chemical-free lifestyle. They should filter their water, filter their air, clean up their home, clean up their building materials, clean up your diet, buy organic food, eat lots of fruits and vegetables. Like you can and should do all of those things. All those things are going to be good for your immune system. But you've also got this powerful tool in a bottle that can give you, in some ways, a lot of things that, short-term diet corrections won't give you. And not everyone's going to filter their water overnight. Not everyone's going to filter their air overnight. Not everyone's going to change their bed overnight. Not everyone's going to do, there's so many things that you could do, but ultimately what it boils down to in practical terms is humans do what's easy and convenient and simple, and things like Fountain of Life are certainly a fantastic tool. The research on lignans is actually very impressive, has a broad spectrum, wide array of beneficial effects on the body. And it seems to be regulating a lot of systems and bringing the body back into balance, which is ultimately what you want to do. The body is trying to seek balance, homeostasis, harmony at all times. Our job is to help it, not make it difficult.
Does that make sense? Doc, the research I saw today, we need to thank coronavirus for focusing our scientists on lignans, because before this virus, the focus on lignans on other things, cancer or different things. But now they're focusing on the lignans with regards to viruses. And it's absolutely astonishing to me. The studies are coming out of India, coming out of Finland, different scientists. And again, we won't get into it. And I guess Dr. Alnos will be on next week to bring it out. But basically, part of it that we've released is that these viruses, the way they split is because they communicate with each other. They tell each other to split. As well as the best way it was explained to me today was when these viruses get into your cell through a receptacle, it's like having a photocopier. You put in a piece of paper on one side, it copies, sends you a bunch of copies coming out the other side. So the replication happens within the cell. So where the lignins come in, it blocks the receptacle from the virus getting in. This is fascinating stuff. I know people like you, this is what you do, it's your expertise. This is what you live for. This is the type of stuff that, show me that research. I wanna, so, but I wanna go back to something you said, the people who are most at risk. I was doing some research on this thing. 0 to 49 years old, we basically 0.4% of the deaths so far, not even 1%. But 80% or higher, 14.8%, 70 to 79 years old, 8%. So again, we have elderly, we all know people who could really use a good immune boosting product like the Fountain of Life. When you take a look at pre-existing conditions, right? The people who had the people who died so far from the coronavirus, people who had no pre-existing condition is 0.09%.
Yeah.
Pretty much everybody else that died either had cancer, hypertension, chronic respiratory disease, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases. So again, we all know people who are either on medication or they're on some type of inflammation or they got some type of infection or they have some type of disease. We must, not forcefully, but we must really make these people understand they are at risk and they need to be on an immune boosting regimen like the Fountain of Life.
Well, and I think that you highlighted the great point, and that's what the media, that's a part of the story the media is not telling, right? A is that people can do things for themselves. They have a lot of control if they want to have control, and that the people that are dying and people who are, really, there isn't a big difference between flu-like symptoms and what they're calling the coronavirus or the family of coronaviruses. And the testing really is not as black and white as the media would have you believe, something we can talk about another time. But the point is that these people are already weak. Like the average American, especially in that age range, about, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, the average American's on over 13 pharmaceuticals. And you factor in the young people, that's just skewing the numbers. And so they have a lot of pre-existing conditions. They are weakened in the body. And listen, every year when you hear about flu season, they always use that term flu season. What they also don't tell you is that it's also low vitamin D season. It's also the season that after Halloween comes, Christmas parties, people are eating, drinking more, eating lots of garbage food, heavier food, sleeping less, more stress of Christmas shopping, right? And then New Year's rolls around. And then January comes and February comes. There's no sunshine for like 6 months and people are just getting weaker and weaker and weaker.
Exactly. And the immune system is taking a beating.
The immune system's taking a beating, and we can and should and need to, and it's necessary to do something about it. And if we do, we don't have to worry. And we have an opportunity to go out and spread this message to people and give them tools, give them knowledge. A lot of people are not going to change their lifestyle no matter what you tell them, no matter how much you try and help them. But if you can give them a simple, easy tool, things that they can do to boost their immune system, we should be out there helping people and spreading that message.
Right. Well, you know what, Doctor, I know that you have strong feelings about traditional medicine. For me, I think traditional medicine has a spot, and we have the science has its spot as well, and alternative medicine has a spot. So I've never taken a flu vaccine. My son's not on it. My family's never been on it, but some people believe in it. So what is the role of vaccine, here? Because this is the part, look, it's okay to have vaccines. I'm completely fine with it. And what I don't understand is it provides artificial confidence that As long as I take that one shot, then I'm safe. And then that I don't have to make a change. I don't have to do anything different. I don't need to build up my immune system. I don't need to make a lifestyle change. I don't need to do anything. I just have to take a vaccine and continue with my ways I've always been that's making me sick. So that's the part that I don't really like about it. What's shocking to me is that we know that the flu vaccine doesn't work for corona, yet they still want to shove it down our throats, and they're still saying you should go get it. There's a lineup of people waiting to get it. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, we could talk for hours about the subject. So let me just give you the Coles notes. And if anyone wants to learn more about it, we can have that conversation another time. But the Coles notes are this. There's a brand new study that just came out, and it said very specifically in no uncertain terms, those who took the flu vaccine this year had a dramatically increased risk of getting coronavirus, right? In no uncertain terms. So very specifically, it's interesting. China just implemented a brand new vaccine campaign. And so one has to ask the questions outside of media manipulation and say, wait a second, of all the people, so also the media says, listen, on average, 300,000 people in the province of Wuhan, and I can't confirm those numbers specifically, but I have seen the numbers being that high, die of some form of respiratory illness, whether it comes from pollution. They just launched 5G there, and they also just launched a big flu shot campaign. And so how do we know that these people who took the flu shot are not all of the ones that got sick? And so, another study that just came out showing that people who recently got the flu vaccine had dramatically increased risk of basically making other people around them sick. They were shedding flu virus-like particles for weeks and weeks on end after getting a vaccine, making other people sick. And so, we don't need to debate the merits or not merits of vaccines in general, but here's what I just challenge anyone to go do. Go look at the list of ingredients in there and ask yourself, if I made this thing in the kitchen and I tried to inject your child with it, if you'd be okay with it. And the next question I ask people is, listen, if this was truly intended to build up your immune system and make you healthy and not intended to make you a future customer, because the research shows that they're making you future customers. The newest study just said your chances of getting coronavirus went up through the roof if you got the flu vaccine. And yet the pharmaceutical companies are telling you, hey, if you want to prevent coronavirus, you should go get a flu vaccine. But that's the opposite of what the science says. But I ask people this, it's just a really great way to think about it. If the vaccine was there to help you, why are there no vitamins and minerals in there? Why are there no things that have been proven over many, many decades as safe and effective for the body to be injected or to be ingested? None of those ingredients are in there. Instead, it's a who's list of really toxic stuff. But we need to be unemotional about it and just say, okay, whether I'm pro-pharma or anti-pharma, whether I'm pro-vaccine in principle or anti-vaccine in principle, what is the latest scientific data showing year after year from people who actually take the flu vaccine? What is actually happening to them, right? And so you can't read the science and in good conscience say that this would be a wise thing. Studies have shown that it creates immune dysfunction, contrary to what we're told. We're told it's good for the immune system, but the studies show that people have deranged immune systems after they take it. And you can't say the same about lots of plant-based medicine. You can't say the same about people who are consuming large quantities of lignans in their diet or by supplement form. You can't say that they have immune dysfunction. They are clearly showing lowered inflammation. They are clearly showing increased immunity. They are clearly showing hormone modulating and balancing properties. So we hear about hormone-driven cancers. We're seeing that high lignin intake is correlated with balancing those hormones, getting them back to normal levels. And antiviral, antibacterial, there's a lot of these studies. And you know what? Here's one thing I've never seen. None of the researchers anywhere talk whatsoever about risks associated with taking lignans, but everybody, the Supreme Court admitted that vaccines are unavoidably unsafe.
That's true.
You've got a mechanism to not take a risk.
Terry, maybe a lot of people don't know how the vaccine is made. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. My understanding was they actually insert the bacteria in your body to create the antibodies.
Yeah, well, I mean, and we could dissect this at length, and I've done lots of other videos on it. And you know, for those who want to learn in depth, like I don't want to monopolize Ramin's call here. I just want to answer questions as best as I can to serve your audience. But I am, because of a lot of people in my world have been asking me, please do a webinar, please do a webinar on this. So I'm doing a webinar later this week if anyone wants to hear me, and I'm going to get into extreme detail for those who want to get into that. But the long story short, basically, when they're injecting you with the vaccine is they're injecting you with foreign RNA and foreign DNA. They're putting things like immune adjuvants that hyperstimulate your immune system, and not in a good way. And there's also a lot of really nasty, suspicious, weird chemicals that really shouldn't be in there. And you have to ask yourself, like, a lot of these, here's the thing. When you look up the ingredients on the vaccine, here's what I challenge people to do often is I say, listen, I'd like you to go to the MSDS, the Material Safety Data Sheet. So this is basically a compilation by global chemists talking about the properties of certain chemicals and saying, here's what we know for a fact about this chemical. It causes this, it causes this, it causes this, it causes this, it causes this. And you're gonna look up some of the ingredients in the vaccine and see this long list on the MSDS and say, wait a second, if all those chemicals are known to cause those things, it didn't magically go away when it was put in the vaccine blender. Like those things didn't magically go away. And if just because being injected makes it even worse. So they're injecting you with monkey DNA and kidney cells. There's even human aborted fetal cells in there. And so you have to think, like, if you're here's one of your immune system's number one core functions in plain English. Your immune system's job 24/7 is trying to determine and decide between you and not you, you and not you, you and not you. And so when viruses and bacteria and all these things are growing uncontrollably in your body, your immune system's like going crazy to go find out, like, what's happening here. We need to make this thing, we need to correct this situation.
Find the infected cells and then eliminate it and neutralize it.
Right, but if we're going to inject all of this stuff, we're going to inject, you know, animal and bird and cow DNA and expect that the immune system's not going to get confused. That's just, it's not, you know, it's not reasonable.
You know what, Terry, I know that this is your passion, and like you said, you could do a week on this stuff.
Yeah.
But let's just go on. Like, I know David is on the call, so David, get yourself unmuted on this because I want your take on this. Lignans has been shocking. I mean, it seems that it's the buzzword now. You know, 30 years ago it was antioxidant. Now it's lignin. Because it is a plant antioxidant, except it's high performance antioxidant. The stuff that I saw today in those videos, and I know, Terry, if you look at these videos, you're going to say, damn, I want to get all this stuff. That's going to come out next week. So, but now we know, David, tell us about this. I want to get Terry's perspective on this. The latest study is fascinating because we always knew that, you know, women don't get sick as much, or even the stats show in the coronavirus, women's death ratio is half of men. Now, we didn't know why. We thought they had a strong immune system, whatever. But there are definite reasons for that. So, David, tell us about that and what Lignans is doing with regards to the viruses.
Well,
David, just before you start, Ramin, I need you to go into a better reception area. We're losing your sound a little bit, so we just need you to go into a better reception area, please.
Oh, okay. But David, did you catch what I was saying?
I understood what you're asking, Ramin.
Okay.
You're referring to the in silico study that just was published, and what they're discussing is the fact of the matter is that estrogen has some antiviral properties, blocking the estrogen alpha and estrogen beta sites in the body. And lignans are weak phytoestrogens. They don't have obviously the same strength as mammalian estrogens, but the thing is that they basically can occupy a spot. And when we talk about this ability of lignans, it's really important, especially the larissa-resinol. It does seem to work very well on both those sites. And when it does occupy the sites, it prevents the replication of viruses. And the viruses, like Dr. Tillaart was saying, is really something that's really not alive, but it takes over a cell. It starts replicating. The constant replication is what causes us to become ill, causes us to, allows us to transfer to one another. So if the lignin can block these sites, we're talking about the alpha and beta estrogen receptor sites, they found that in fact, it can reduce that replication and illness that's not just within the human body, but that is transferred to other people. And that was what that study was all about. And I think it's a very important thing to recognize. And they looked at the differences between men and women. They discovered, yes, with the coronavirus, that twice as many men have passed away in China as opposed to women. They think it has something to do with the estrogen, that is protective. But at the same time, the newest studies are saying that because the women are on the front lines, in healthcare, they think that number will change. But in overall, and that's just circumstantial, unfortunately. But the reality is that there is some protective value in the estrogen and phytoestrogens, and that's why lignans are really important in our diet.
So Dr. Tillaart, put us in a language we understand. What did he just say?
Yeah, well, David, that's very insightful. I love what you shared. So yeah, I mean, here's a great way to think of it. So this is an area of science we call cell receptor site physiology, if you will. And I like to picture like a lock and a keypad, right? And so what David's saying is that all these sites have docking sites, so that's kind of like the lock, and then there's a key that goes in that can occupy this lock, if you will. And when that goes in there, or another way to think of it would be kind of like if you've all seen the toys you had as a kid where the triangle fits in the triangle, the rectangle fits in the rectangle, the star fits in the star. There's certain things that fit and other things that don't. And lignans, because they're native to the human body, they're inherently in our diet, or supposed to be in our diet. When they go and occupy these spaces that they're supposed to. And another beautiful thing about cell receptor site physiology is, like, if you take, I don't know, let's just say a mango or like the spruce resin, you've got all these other medicinal compounds that kind of piggyback in. And so those viruses, like David was saying, which I think was great, is if the body is already unhealthy and those viruses start to replicate, then you get sick cells. Now, sick cells are much like sick humans. When humans are sick, they get vomit, they diarrhea, they start getting uncontrollable sweats. Your body is trying to find one way or another to excrete the waste, to excrete the poisons. And so when the cells get toxic inside, they start to excrete their waste. And that starts to overwhelm the body. Picture it like mucus. That's why the body gets overwhelmed with mucus and your nose gets really snotty and things are flying out of everywhere. Yeah, that's all this poison cells. So if you've got a tool like lignans that's blocking viral replication inside the body, that's powerful, because now the body's not going to get overwhelmed. You're going to stop that replication in its tracks. And it's able to do that because lignans belong in the body. They truly belong there. And so we have these cell receptor sites, and they can get right into where they need to go and block that process from happening. David, did that sound along the lines similar to what you're reading in the study?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And again, that marries into some of the theories, well, not just theories, but what they're finding with, hormonal cancers and why it impacts its ability. Physiologically speaking, that a phytoestrogen is very similar to a mammalian estrogen, and its ability to dock into those sites prevents uncontrolled growth. In this case, with viruses, it just prevents the replication, which is a real important step. So it is.
So the reason ladies don't get sick as much is because estrogen stops the replication. It does the same purpose for them. And since women have higher level of estrogen in the bodies than men do, that's why they don't get sick as much. That's why the kill ratio is half. That's why men, when they fall, they always say men fall, they're like babies. Well, because David, we're more sick. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was my defense. I said that. We're not babies, we're victims.
All right, Ramin and David, I do have some questions for Terry here. And you said I'm a ball of energy. My God, you are contagious. You are amazing in a good way, by the way. So of course, all the lines are of course blowing up. They're loving it. But I have a couple questions. So Ramin, I'm going to read a couple of them, and I'd like for you to just answer. I know you've done some studies on lignans as well, and I know David has done tons of it. But with someone who's feeling some sort of ailment or virus, during the times that they are feeling down, should they increase their dosage of the lignans in the fountain by taking Fountain of Life? Because of course we know that Fountain of Life product is just absolutely loaded with lignans, and this is something that we've been
Would you like me to comment, or you want David to comment on that?
No, I'm asking you, Terry.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, absolutely they should. I mean, there's no doubt that, you know, when you have a good thing, usually more of a good thing is better, right? And so, I mean, if you thought, here's just one other thing I'll give you that's just free advice and it's good advice. Listen, every species on the planet, when they're sick, does some fasting. There are no known exceptions. And so rest is always one of the most amazing things. And we've all heard the saying, you know, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Well, if an apple a day keeps the doctor away, imagine what a bag of apples can do for you, right? And so if you've got a powerful substance that you know lowers inflammation, is immunomodulatory, meaning that it balances the immune system and gets things back into good order, I'm sure there is probably at some point a toxic dose, but I'm willing to bet that dose is pretty damn high. And so even if you just did spaced out doses, like if you're not feeling well, I would personally hit it hard. Like, I don't fear plant-based medicine. They did a study once on something like, oh my God, there's literally something like an 80 billion doses. Don't quote me on the number, because I'm a little gray on the actual number. It's been many years since I read that study, but something like 80 billion doses, and there were no known major side effects from any plant-based medicine of any kind. The only side effects were like headaches, a little bit of nausea, a little bit of discomfort, maybe diarrhea if you push things too far. But let your body be that feedback mechanism. Like, if you push it too far, your body's going to let you know, and then maybe just space out your dose or back off just a little bit. But I would definitely increase my dose to answer your question.
Awesome.
Well, actually, that's the question I asked Dr. Arnold about the toxicity, because people are doubling, tripling up. They love it doing it. Some people want to even take even more. He basically said, in order for you to have any type of toxicity and get harmed by it with FOL, you need to drink 1.5 liters of it, which is like, I don't know, 100 bottles. I don't know. It's a 30 ml bottle, right? So
right.
You're going to have to drink. So yeah, so like you said, hey, listen, you could have, you know, if you have too much oranges, the acid will kill you too. So it's a ridiculous amount where you just cannot consume.
All right, there's one more question that comes in, and it's for David. I think I can even answer it. I'm going to get David, and I think Terry can piggyback on this as well. For someone who has been taking really care of their health, and they basically start to take the Fountain of Life, how fast would you say someone's immune system would be impacted, or they would see results?
If their health is already in good condition, well, number one, if their health is in good condition, probably their immune system is in relatively, you know, good shape at that point. However, you know, having said that, you know, that's just an assumption. I would still, at this stage right now, because of the exposures, because of the type of environment we're living in, I would still take 30 drops a day. Number one. Number two, how long will it take before your immune system is in better shape? Well, it takes about 24 hours for the enterolactone levels to actually, and that's what converted, you know, that's what Fountain of Life converts from a plant lignin to a mammalian lignin. It takes about 24 hours to get that level up. And then to maintain that, we're all talking about taking 10 drops in the morning, 10 drops in the afternoon, and 10 drops in the evening. But if if you're feeling a little under, you know, by all means, increase that, because there's really no toxicity involved with this product, at least something that you would not be able to reasonably reach.
One of the questions is that apparently they have curfew now in some countries, and you can get a ticket being on the street. Tomorrow is that call. Tomorrow is my forensic call, and I'm going to be talking about how to work from home, be while quarantine and all of the stuff, and be able to do business globally. This is the industry for that type of environment. So tomorrow, forensic call, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. The call is specifically for how to build and sell from your home.
Okay, awesome. And I'm just going to get Terry to reiterate a little bit more about what the question was, and if someone has got a healthy immune system, how much should they be taking, should be taking it, so on and so forth. Please, if you can elaborate on that, Terry.
Yeah, I think I would just go with David. I mean, when people say that they're healthy, that's usually a faulty assumption. Usually when I dig into that question, I mean, I've seen people who are 600 pounds tell me they eat pretty good and they're in pretty good health. That's a very, very, very subjective definition. And that's not to make it personal, and that's not to speak down on people who are carrying some extra weight. It's really not. But it's just, that's a subjective definition. So if you're at all concerned right now, I would be taking more and just being proactive. It's better to be ahead of things. It's in all things in life. The more proactive you are, the better position you're going to be in.
I agree. And I think I would also add to that is a lot of times when we are ill, we sometimes don't realize it until it becomes into a more serious state. So to protect or preserve your health, as we say with the fountain of life, is basically taking the precautionary measures to be able to boost up in your immune system with things that you may not be aware of in your immune system as well. And that's key. To answer I know Ramin is going to do an extensive call tomorrow when it comes to some countries that may have been going into lockdown. One thing I do want to reiterate is that we do also drop ship and we do ship globally, but I want to make sure everyone is on the call for tomorrow to make sure that we are hearing from, of course, our founder and CEO. So someone recently has shared that in England, UK, that they had contacted the coronavirus, and in about 5 days of taking the Fountain of Life, he was able to feel much better based on, of course, the antibacterial aspect of it, based on the fact that it's an anti-inflammatory. Can any of you gentlemen elaborate? Terry, maybe we'll start with you.
Yeah, well, I think that's fantastic. I mean, like David said, you might feel some effects within 24 hours, but there's a reason why all studies are done over time-lapse periods. And so you're going to have a cumulative effect, right? So studies show that people who are taking a good lifestyle behavior and do it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, 90 days, 6 months, like the benefits are cumulative. Things tend to continue to improve. And so even if you are boosting your immune system in 24 hours, it doesn't mean you've reached the peak of where it could be. It doesn't mean you're at the optimal levels. And so doing things consistently, it's like buying a gym membership and going once every Tuesday and expecting to have great biceps. It doesn't work like that. You've got to go continuously, consistently, and that's when you're going to get the real results. And so if taking a Fountain of Life is your chosen lifestyle habit and your strategy for boosting your immune system, do it regularly, do it consistently, and do extra proactively right now during these times is what I would do if I were in your shoes.
Awesome. And if many people do, of course, are taking the Fountain of Life, and a lot of traditional doctors, as we all know, don't have a lot of knowledge and education about lignans. And I think this is something you touched base on a little bit earlier on, Terry. And could you just shed a little bit more light what people should be saying or how they should be managing that as well?
You mean in terms of how they communicate with people?
Yeah, well, I think when it comes to a lot of people, when they go and, if they're on medication, existing medication, and they go and speak to their doctors about taking a powerful product like an antioxidant, like the Fountain of Life, and they try to explain that this is full of lignans, how can they talk to someone like a doctor that they can pretty much explain what a lignan is? I think that's a question.
Yeah, here's the first thing you need to understand is context first. You do have to understand the shoes that an MD is wearing, right? Like Carolyn Dean said it best, because when I went to medical school, we spent 2 years studying diseases and disease labels, which really are only a name for a collection of symptoms. And we spent the other 2 years matching drugs to those diseases, and we graduate the end. So they don't study health. They don't study nutrition. They really, like, not in any shape, way, or form. And people have a hard time believing that, but that's factually true. And so I would just try to relate it to being like a concentrated version of medicine that's found in food. Right, because I think that's one of the, and I don't want to speak out of term, and correct me if I'm wrong, David, but to me, I think that's one of the beauties of Fountain of Life is that you've got this really concentrated version. Like there are lignins found in fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds and all these things. And that's a fantastic thing. But if you got a concentrated version of it here, this is a way to, this is about convenience and powerful medicine. And so I would keep it simple. And the other thing, remember, if you're talking to a medical doctor, send research. And if they're concerned about drug and herb interactions, just ask them if their doctors told them to stay away from fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, and all those other things. Probably not, but if they want to feel comfortable, get on Google and research if there's a conflict individually.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Ramin, did you want to add something to that?
No.
Okay, David?
No, I think that's exactly right. If the doctor's not familiar with Fountain of Life, just explain to them that this metabolizes exactly the same as flaxseed. I think all doctors would know that. What flaxseed is, they just might not be familiar because they both convert to enterolactone. It's just that Fountain of Life is more efficient, and it can be taken sublingually. And there's a big difference there. But,
and there is on Fountain of Life also there's 7 lignins versus 1.
Well, yeah, it's just that it converts. The thing for a doctor to understand, though, is that it converts to enterolactone.
Right.
That it is the same as flaxseed, and that'll give them a better perspective of what we're discussing. Not flaxseed oil, but flaxseed.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. I hope you guys are all enjoying this call just as much as I am, because I wish we need to do a lot more of this. So for Dr. Terry, if someone has an autoimmune disorder such as lupus, and of course, what do natural powerful antioxidants like the spruce tree that's in the Fountain of Life help when it comes to them from this pandemic of the COVID-19?
Yeah, I mean, from a professional perspective, I always want to be responsible and say and do the responsible things and the legal, the moral, the ethical things. And I do think it's good to work with a professional. But by professional, I don't mean a professional drug dealer. I mean someone who specializes in health and root causes, and someone can help you. See, autoimmune disorders truly, at the end of the day, are lifestyle diseases. No one wants to hear that, but it's a documented fact. And so you want to also look at lifestyle factors that are there. But anything that creates immunomodulation, anything that moves the immune system back towards balance, which is what your body's natural state is doing. Your body's a homeostasis seeking machine 24/7, round the clock. It's trying to find homeostasis. Your job is to support it in every way that you can, right? And so most people, when they're sick, they're not sick from a lack of chemistry. They're sick from a lack of nature. Right. And so when we go back to nature and our relationship to nature, and do things that not what the meat industry tells us our ancestors did, but how our ancestors really did grow up, which was foraging fruits and vegetables and living off the land and getting sunshine and having contact with the earth and no electromagnetic pollution, all those things. So taking supplements that immunomodulate, balance your immune system is going to move you in the right direction. But a professional perspective would still be, it's still a good idea to also work with someone who can guide you maybe with some other strategies to really get you to live truly free of the disease.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that information. That was vital and important. Of course, I want to talk a little bit about this pandemic that's growing worldwide. And we are told, of course, the coronavirus, the first 4 days, it supposedly affects the throat. You feel like, of course, it starts in the throat. If someone is feeling how, by taking the Fountain of Life, should they gargle it in their throat? How should they use it? Because it is an antibacterial agent. So can you talk to us a little bit about that? And David, if you want to piggyback on that as well, please do.
Yeah, I think gargling it with it would be fantastically intelligent. Just a great, simple strategy. Like, if you've all heard the term "born with a silver spoon in your mouth," that came from the idea, like when the royal family didn't want to be sick, they approached scientists and doctors at the time, and one guy said, "Listen, silver on contact is very antimicrobial, antibacterial, and I know you guys use this in some of your products." And so what they did was gave them silverware. That's what silverware came from, was so it would disinfect anything that was there. So back then you couldn't drink water in Europe. So to kill off a lot of this bacteria, they would do that because on contact it dies. And of course, we do know that lignins and pine and spruce lignins and specifically have a lot of antibacterial properties. So I guess we don't know exactly what's in your throat necessarily without swabbing it, but I'd hazard a guess that certainly only good would come from that, and it'd probably come in contact with the bacteria and certainly help get rid of it. That would be my suspicion. David, if you want to add to that.
Thank you for that explanation. I think that sort of covers a lot of it. You know, it's not going to affect our microbiome in our gut, so that's a good thing. However, having said that, it will reduce some of the inflammation that occurs during this period of time. So it will help in terms of having contact by gargling, and I think that will help a great deal in reducing a number of the issues that symptomatically it will help a great deal.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, David. Another question that comes up, Terry, is, of course, when it comes to someone that is taking the Fountain of Life or a high-powered antioxidant, they're obviously building up their immune system. If they take it for 6 months and they stop taking it, is there any side effects? Is there any reverse effects that's going to happen? We've covered that in our previous calls, but I'll let you start.
Yeah, I don't know if there would be negative side effects, so to speak, but you're eventually going to, when you stop the boosting of it, I mean, unless, you know, you're going to slow, your immune system is in all practical likelihood is most likely to start just slowly, ever so slowly regressing back to a different state. And of course, you know, how you are truly living your lifestyle is going to affect how fast you go backwards. And so it's like going to the gym. Go to the gym for 6 months, every single day, hit it hard, have the most perfect diet, you get into great shape. But guess what happens when you stop going? Like your body will tell you what happens. We all know it. We've all been there. We've all had zigs and zags in our fitness, up and downs, and we know we just slowly start going back. You know, it's kind of like the law of nature. Everything's growing or dying. And so I think if you stop taking, you're going to slowly go backwards. But I don't think there's going to be negative side effects if you missed a week necessarily. But you know what I mean? I wouldn't do it this time of year, but you know. Right.
I'm going to get David to answer that because I know he's got his finger ready to press on the button. Like, oh, me. Yes, David.
Well, Dr. Tillaart is exactly right, but you know, people should recognize that negative is going to happen. Exactly, but you know, Fountain of Life has a half-life in our body, and so I think it's you know, like 7 to 10 hours. So you can imagine if you have an enterolactone level up to here, in 7 to 10 hours it's going to be there. And then in 7 to 10 hours after that, it's going to be there. In a couple of days, it's not going to be in your system. So if you do have an inflammatory response to anything, it's just opening the gateway to that. And if there's something serious, it'll take some time, but it will occur. So you're just opening that sort of issue back up again.
Yeah.
What I want to highlight here, both David and Terry, I don't think people still grasp the idea why people are dying from flus. Forget about corona for a minute. Flu doesn't kill anybody. Corona doesn't kill anybody. And I gave you guys the stats earlier. The people who died, I'm just going to go over it one more time. This is important, is that almost 0.9% did not have a pre-existing condition. The rest had either cardiovascular, diabetes, so forth. See, folks, we have an immune system that protects us from everything. Now, our diet feeds that immune system. Now, most people don't even have a good diet, and our immune system keeps us alive 50, 60, 70, 80 years. It may not be healthy, but it keeps us. Can you imagine what happens when you put good nutrition? Regular nutrition or bad nutrition, that's not a good word, regular diet or bad diet keeps us alive. Still, our immune system manages to keep us alive with the junk that we put in our system. So can you imagine how much your immune system can benefit when you put good stuff in it? You can just imagine. So you're feeding your immune system every day. So the Fountain of Life, we talk about how it compares to 1,800 apples or 50 cups of green tea and so forth. It's imperative that we give our immune system good nutrition in a very much a concentrated way. And what Dr. Terry was saying is key. Not only it gives you the concentration level that you keep, is extremely hard to get from regular fruits and vegetables. It's easy to take. It's easy to take. Another thing that we talked about, Dr. Arnold today, about the gargling, he said the exact same thing. He said, because what I do is that I take a full dropper, I keep it on my tongue for about a minute. Then I use my tongue to basically take my entire mouth, and I keep it for a couple of minutes. And he says, that's exactly what you got to do. Because what people don't know, and I heard this before, I didn't understand it until today. Your dental health is directly linked to good health. So I didn't understand how that worked till today. Because when you have inflammation in your gums or anywhere in your body, or when you have an infection in your teeth or anywhere in your body, now all of a sudden your immune system has to commit to deal with that. So when your immune system is dealing with a bunch of things like that, that's why it's not strong enough and people are dying from flus, because the immune system just cannot cope with everything that's going on. So it's imperative you understand that the only thing between you and death is one thing. Living is immune system. So don't question feeding your immune system with antioxidants, with frontal life, with doubling or tripling up, because that's the difference. So I'll leave you gentlemen to comment on that.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it just shows you how resilient the body is, and just because we can doesn't mean we should abuse it. And so, I mean, keeping your immune system strong, especially in times like these, it is going to be the difference between who sails on by and doesn't miss a beat. I mean, listen, even if you're not. Some of you aren't going to be staring mortality in the face, but who wants to be sick anyway? Like, that's a miserable feeling. And if you take care of your immune system and build things up, then you're not going to have that experience. When your immune system is really strong, you are impervious to that. I, of course, live much healthier lifestyles than most people, but I could walk into I would go into the quarantine room and not bat an eye. I could play with 1,000 snot-nosed kids and come home just fine. I don't worry about things like that because I'm strong on the inside. I go through a lot of measures to get there, but it just is. And so you've got a tool right here that's just so easy, so convenient, boost your immune system, take advantage of it, and then sail on past this thing and never look back is my suggestion.
Awesome. David?
Well,
I saw your finger going toward the button.
Yeah, I think that's an important point, and I agree with that. The one thing that we're looking at right now is we're in a high stress environment. Everyone around the world is a high stress environment. It's affecting our cortisol levels, and that's really going to impact our immune system. And so we really do have to boost it in some way. Just going shopping right now is putting a lot of stress on us when we can't find the things that are that needs for daily living. It's just not there because people are doing stupid things, and it's increasing our anxieties. It's increasing our reducing our ability to fight off infections and everything like that. So we do need something to boost it, and something that's easy like Fountain of Life will help us reach the normalcy that we do need.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And the reality, I love what I'm hearing, and there's so many messages coming through. Just thanking you, gentlemen. Thanking you, Dr. Terry, for your knowledge, your experience, your passion. Another question comes up saying, Dr. Terry, in my country, which by the way is in the Caribbean island, we have a high rate of diabetes, high blood pressure, and dialysis. Can you advise on a person they can do immediately to be able to boost and, of course, hopefully protect themselves? Of course, Fountain of Life is my first thing, but I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, I mean, don't ignore diet and lifestyle just because you have a fantastically super convenient product. But there is research showing that lignans definitely help with diabetes, definitely helping with blood sugar regulation, insulin production, normalizing insulin production. So it's definitely going to help with that. And in terms of your kidney issues, I mean, plant-based medicine is still going to help, right? Like, so that's the easiest thing you can do is don't put extra stress on the kidneys. I can't speak to reading research specifically in terms of lignans and late-stage kidney failure. And of course, kidney failure is something serious. You should work with a professional for things like that. And unlike what medical doctors tell you, there's a lot you can do in kidney failure. You can reverse it. I'm doing a lot right now with people with serious kidney problems and animals with serious kidney problems. You have options of things that you can look at. But in the meantime, one thing's for certain, Fountain of Life is certainly not going to hurt. It's going to benefit everybody in the Caribbean also in many different ways. I don't see how it can't. So.
Awesome.
David?
I do want to read. I do want to read some messages that are coming through. A lot of people are writing, and I'm just going to back up a little bit, just to. I don't want to miss anyone. I get a message coming from. I'm seeing great results in my immune system as well. I've received great feedback from many of my friends who are trying Fountain of Life. Thank you so much. Steph from Ottawa says, I have not been sick, not even the sniffles, since I started to take the Fountain of Life over 2 years ago. Thank you so much for this gift to the world. Thank you, Dr. Terry, CEO, super call. Again, I'm so excited. Tammy writes, amen, Steph. I agree. No sniffles for me in 2 years. Also, Tammy did write a little bit earlier on saying, I can honestly say that when I'm missing my FOL, even for a single week, I cannot do that. Trust me, I was begging for my shipment to arrive. That was back when it was between the shipments. I vowed that I would never have a day without Fountain of Life. And I agree, you know, once you start to build up your immune system and the inflammation goes down and you stop taking it, of course, you're going to start feeling what you used to feel. If the inflammation is coming back, of course, there's many different elements to it as well. And again, there's so many messages, people writing, thank you. I love my FOL. It's a great gift of life. And again, we've already gone over. Are you okay, Terry, with timing as we've gone a little bit over?
I'm all good here. If there's a few extra questions, we can take them on.
Yes, there's a few questions. I'm so grateful. Everyone is just super excited. For some people, it's still in the middle of the night. Yet, you know, they're just flooding the calls, and but people are just saying so much valuable information tonight. Thank you. I absolutely love this call. Very knowledgeable. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for your excitement that you have. Terry, I know we've gone about 15 minutes over, and again, the messages just there's tons of them. What would be your ultimate message from a lot of our viewers that are on? Maybe there's some customers that are on. What would be your ultimate message? Of course, I know you've studied a little bit about the lignans, and you're very, very knowledgeable. And I know that you have tried the Fountain of Life as well. So please give us some of those remarks.
Yeah, two things, if you don't mind. I just want to leave everyone with this. If anyone wants to learn more about this nonsense, because the media is going to beat the drum of fear and beat the drum of insanity really hard in the weeks to come. There's even talks of militarizing the streets. So if you want to get some of that fear soaked out, I'm going to do a webinar on Wednesday. You're all welcome to join it. I'm also going to send out a report to people. All of you have friends and family who have, you know, where you know it's very hard to communicate with them. And so I'm compiling a little report with evidence that you can use to send to friends and family to take their fear levels down and bring them back to a level of sanity. If you guys want to join that, you can just go to tillaarthealth.com/Reza. Just very simple, just Reza's first name. It's tillaarthealth.com. But my advice to you, honestly, is stop the media from putting you in fear throughout this process, because that is not helping your immune system. If you take care of your health, if you build up your immune system, if you use the Fountain of Life, just keep boosting it up, take more than normal, keep your immune system strong, you will have nothing to worry about. You're going to be just fine. Life is going to continue after all this media madness. You're going to be in good shape. But just like going to the gym, be consistent with things, be proactive with things. Don't wait till there's an emergency. There's just no value in doing that. And it's never a bad idea to clean up your diet in the process.
Awesome. That is amazing, amazing. David, did you want to add anything to that?
No, well, I think you covered it really well. The only other thing I could add is stay clean. You know, we started looking at some of the things that's going on. People have developed bad habits. A lot of people sit in the washroom and text, and they look at their phone, and they discover high fecal counts on them. And that impacts their immune system. They found that women's purses are great areas of E. coli. Men's backpacks, E. coli, all these things are affecting our immune system. We could talk about Wi-Fi and everything. And yes, some of the habits that we've developed as a society is absolutely devastating. You know, improve your diets, do that, keep clean. You know, we can wash our hands all I want, but if I wash my hands for that, 20-second scrub and then grab my phone and start using it that's covered in E. coli, I've just contaminated myself again. So let's start to develop some good habits along the way. Follow like what Dr. Tillaart was saying, a good lifestyle, boost our immune system, but let's stop doing the things that are inherently destructive to our own health.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that, David. And ladies and gentlemen, as you heard, of course, Dr. Terry talk a little bit about all the amazing products that we have. Not only do we have the Fountain of Life, which is a high-powered antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and of course, antibacterial, but keep in mind that we also have an amazing skincare line. We have a phenomenal toothpaste incorporating the microsilver that has been incorporated into our product line as well. You want to make sure that you are staying informed. You want to make sure you are washing your hands. You want to make sure, as you heard from Dr. Terry, improving your diet as well. And of course, it's a combination of things. It's not, you know, just eat all fast food, eat out, and don't get any exercise, take Fountain of Life, and it's going to save the day. It's an accumulation of many different things combined together. As well, for many of you, you've been messaging me in regards to getting on Dr. Tillaart's next call. I'll be more than happy to share that corporately. We'll send out a link to all of you so you can just enjoy that as well. I know I'd like to also get some closing remarks from our founder and CEO, Ramin here.
It was a fantastic call. It's getting late. Great to have you on board, Terry. And you know what? We have a great cause. We've been blessed with this product. We have a mission. I always like to say, you know what, let's just go out there, help a million people, make billions doing it. So if you're going to help millions of people, it's okay to make billions doing it. Tomorrow is when we're going to talk about how you can build this business from home using the MO box, the DMO tracking sheets, and so forth. That's on the forensic call, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Terry, I want to thank you for your expertise, for your time tonight, and we look forward to doing it more often.
I'd love to come on again. I really appreciate you guys all having me. Reza, thank you so much. For those of you who've been, interacting with me on the page, Anil, Verlin, I know I see you guys on there a lot. But, listen, I'm a friendly guy. I try and keep up with messages, but I love to interact, love to get to know you all. I'm always trying to post value on my page. Yes, I'm a little controversial sometimes, but I'm just trying to hit the facts home, clear up the BS out there, and I'm here to help. And I'd love to be on another call. Really appreciate you guys having me, and I hope everyone got some value and we brought the fear level down from this media circus for people and given some good practical tips to weather the storm.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. And definitely we would love to have you on. And I think everyone just really, really enjoyed tonight's call. I apologize if we didn't get to your questions and comments tonight. The lines were absolutely flooded and I couldn't keep up with all the messages. And of course, but if you do have any questions, you can always email us at regulatory@myopulence.com. We'll be more than happy to respond to you as well. We will be doing another call. One big announcement I do want to make: next week, we will be having the formulator, the creator of Fountain of Life, Dr. Alness, on our call next week, Monday. So make sure, just like tonight, you get yourself and your entire team on next week's call. Tomorrow night, I do want to reiterate, very important call that will be done by our founder and CEO for many of the countries that are on lockdown, for many of the countries that have curfews, for many of the countries that are making this into such a big frenzy, like Dr. Tillaart said. We are going to teach you how to build your business from home. Like all of us are in home building our business, giving you knowledge, giving you power, giving you strength, giving you the tools. Well, guess what? Our founder and CEO is going to teach you how you could basically build your business from the privacy of your own home with no fear, and we will be joining our CEO tomorrow night. So join us on our forensic call. A link will go out. An email blast has already gone out. Many of you have been messaging when this recording will be going out. We'll be posting it in your back office as always. You can always find it the next day right in your back office. So you can download it and listen to it. And as you're driving, get more knowledge and information. With that, I want to give a big special thank you to, of course, Dr. Tillaart, of course, our regulatory David, and last but not least, our phenomenal CEO for being on the call tonight and hosting this amazing call. So I want to thank you all for being on tonight. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I want to thank everyone who stayed up or woke up super early or got no sleep to be on this call. Thank you all again, and I look forward to the next call with all of you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
All right, team. Good night. Be safe.
Bye.